Have you ever thought about how music is recommended to you? See, we live in a world that's full of algorithms for different things like videos and TikToks and whatever, but music is special in a way because music feels more personal. Like we associate music more with identity than we do with like videos and other content. Which is why I've always been fascinated with algorithms that recommend us our music and infatuated with something called the Music Genome Project. See, in October of 1990, a group of researchers embarked on one of the greatest scientific feats in history. This was called the Human Genome Project. Its goal was to sequence the entire human genome, and they did it 2 years ahead of schedule, as a matter of fact. And 9 years later, in 1999, the Human Genome Project inspired something called the Music Genome Project, and its goal was to create a personalized music experience for everyone by analyzing the genes that make up different pieces of music. With that idea, the company Savage Beast Technologies was created, which eventually became Pandora. So looking back now, how did it do? Was the Music Genome Project one of the greatest musical accomplishments in history, or was it maybe just kind of a waste of time? If you look at things at a surface level, you might look at Pandora's 1% market share or low monthly active user count and think that maybe it was a waste of time. But maybe, just maybe, if we dive a little deeper, we might find something different. So I decided to run an experiment, a head-to-head comparison between Pandora and its competitors to see if the Music Genome Project gave it some kind of advantage. But first, let's dive into how the Music Genome Project actually goes about accomplishing this goal. The Music Genome Project is more of a process than it is just an algorithm, though it does have an algorithmic component. The first step in the Music Genome process is essentially an analysis of different pieces of music by musical experts. They listen to a piece of music and document the different traits of that piece. This could be anything from the tone, the instruments used, the gender of the vocalist, and pretty much anything else they could come up with based on that genre of music. Just listen to this explanation of the Music Genome Project by someone from Pandora.
The Music Genome Project is a collection of musical attributes, about 450 of them. And they essentially are the primary colors of melody, harmony, rhythm, form, instrumentation, lyrics, voice. Every song is listened to by a trained musician. So you have to be, it's not just your average working musician, you have to know theory. Like you have to have an ear training, you have to know what you're doing to be able to listen to a song and understand what's happening. To make music recommendations, you have to know what music sounds like. It's not a bottle of shampoo, like to figure out what things go together and who's gonna like what, you gotta spend the time.
Now, obviously, because they can't listen to every single piece of music out there, they kind of prioritize what pieces of music they decide to analyze, and then they use other strategies to fill in the gaps. So with this, they're able to sort of understand the traits of certain pieces of music, and they can sort of create a network of songs that sound similar. So if you say you like song A, then they have a network of songs that they can recommend to you that are similar to song A. But there's a second problem. What happens when they run out of songs in song A's network? How do they keep recommending new music? For this, they rely on something called the strong triadic closure property. And this property works something like this. If we have a song A that is very similar to song B, and we have a song C that is also very similar to song B, then there is a likelihood that song A is at least a little bit similar to song C. So if we run out of songs in song A's network, we pull a song from song B's network with the confidence that it's similar enough to song A that you might probably also like it. So let's say you give Pandora feedback and you thumbs up that new song. Now it knows that you like the genetic makeup of that song. So now we can put you into that song B's network and recommend all of those songs in that network. And that's how Pandora is able to jump from genre to genre in ways that other platforms don't seem to be able to do. Aside from the fact that this is super cool, it had some other really important implications. One, at the time Pandora came out with this, no other platform was really doing personalized music like this, so it was sort of revolutionary. And also, if you were an artist that didn't fit neatly into a specific genre, this strategy got you more exposure than the way other platforms were handling this. Which is something that's really great for small up-and-coming artists or artists that aren't usually on the mainstream. So now that we understand a little bit more about how the Music Genome Project works, let's talk about how we're going to test to see if it actually makes a difference. Cue the experiment. For this experiment, I enlisted the help of 11 of my friends and family, and I asked them to tell me what one of their favorite songs were. I created 5 different playlists for each person based on that song. Each of those 5 playlists were created using one of the 5 music platforms in this experiment. I tested Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, SoundCloud, and of course, Pandora. Because all each person got was a playlist numbered 1 through 5, they didn't know which playlist was generated by which platform. One by one, they would listen to the 10 songs on each playlist and tell me how many songs on that playlist that they actually liked. The criteria for what songs they liked was kind of left up to each person. Some people use a very strict criteria, so their like numbers were low. Some people used a very non-strict one, so their like numbers were super high. I told each person that it was okay whatever strategy they wanted to use, as long as they used it consistently across all 5 playlists. The numbers of songs that they liked from each playlist became a score, so I would tally up the score from each person from each playlist and then figure out the total likes that each platform was able to generate. So that was the experiment. Pretty simple and probably a little flawed, but we'll get into that a little bit later. First, I want to talk a little bit about how I generated each playlist. The Music Genome Project really addresses the idea of personalized music recommendations. So the idea is that you give the platform a starting point, and it will try to recommend music that keeps you enjoying the playlist for minutes or hours on end. Each platform in this experiment had the idea of a song station or a song radio. And if you've never used this idea of a song station or song radio before, the way it works is you select a song and you sort of go into the submenu of that song and ask the platform to create a song station or a song radio. The expectation is that it's using that song to sort of figure out what other songs are similar to it that it can recommend to you. Sort of like you're saying, hey, I really like this song, give me more music like this. And when you do this, one of 2 things will happen. In the case of Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube Music, it'll sort of spit out a playlist of songs. And you can sort of listen to that song, you can thumbs up or thumbs down songs, but it doesn't really change the playlist in any way. But with Pandora and Apple Music, it just plays one song at a time. And the idea is that if you thumbs up or thumbs down the song, it sort of affects what happens to the playlist as you go on. The latter method could dynamically improve the playlist as you listen, so it might have an advantage in this experiment. However, it is important to note that as I was creating these playlists for the experiment, I didn't give the platforms any feedback. So I didn't thumbs up any songs, I didn't skip any songs. I just kind of let the playlist play until 10 songs had been played, and then I recorded it and created the playlist. I chose the song radio strategy because I think it gets the essence of what the Music Genome Project is trying to accomplish. I give you a song, you analyze that song for its elements and its traits, and you try to find other pieces of music that are similar to it. So with that, let's take a look at the results. Coming up in 4th place, we actually have a tie between Apple Music and Spotify with 59 total likes. This is actually very surprising to me because I feel like these 2 platforms are probably the most popular music platforms that we have out today. Apple Music actually couldn't generate a playlist for one of the songs, so we got a 0 for that playlist, and somehow still managed to score the same points as Spotify. Not a good look for Spotify. In 3rd place, we have SoundCloud with 66 likes, which is really strange for 2 reasons. SoundCloud didn't actually have 2 of the songs in this experiment, so it got 2 zeros for 2 of the playlists and still managed to beat Spotify and Apple Music. Again, not a great look for those platforms. But also, SoundCloud's playlists were kind of low effort algorithmically. Let me show you what I mean. Look at the playlist that SoundCloud generated for Through the Wire by Kanye West. Half of these songs are on the same album, and all of these songs are by Kanye West. So there really isn't any introduction or discovery in this playlist. But the person who reviewed this playlist gave it a 10 out of 10, so it works. But it could also maybe point to a weakness on how this experiment might be being judged. Moving on to 2nd place, we have YouTube Music with 69 likes. Nice. Which is actually interesting because in my research for this video, I discovered that YouTube Music is actually focused on this idea of song radios. Last year, according to 9to5 Google, they reported that they improved the backend logic that nominates the music that shows up in song radios to increase artist diversity in these playlists, and as a result, have seen an increase in likes and song discovery. Looks like it paid off. Good for YouTube. So that brings us to our 1st place, which, if you've done the process of elimination, is Pandora with 77 likes. So it does seem like, at least as a result of this experiment, that the Music Genome Project has an advantage here. Pandora has a pretty clear lead on all the other platforms in this experiment. But before we talk about what that actually means, I do want to talk about some weaknesses in this approach. first of which is sample size. These platforms have millions and millions of users, so a sample size of 11 people listening to 55 playlists, it's probably pretty small. Second, I didn't randomize the order of this playlist, so everyone listened to the playlist in the same order by platform. Everyone listened to the Spotify playlist first, followed by Pandora, then Apple Music, then YouTube Music, and then finally SoundCloud. And this could have probably impacted the results of the experiment. I also didn't incorporate any feedback into these songs. In reality, we give a lot of feedback to these platforms. Whether you thumbs up a song, whether you skip a song, add a song to a playlist, or any other way you might tell the platform that you like or don't like a specific piece of music. And that could really change the recommendation system for the platform. Maybe some platforms handle that better than others or take the feedback better than others, but that didn't play a role in this experiment. Lastly, there was the issue of my music profile on my accounts. See, I created all these platforms on my music accounts, which means that if the platform took into account what I like, if the song that was suggested wasn't similar to music that I like, it could have really impacted that playlist. To be fair, I don't think they should have incorporated that in these playlists, but if they did, it could have hurt the platform. But for a second, let's assume that we accept the results of this experiment. Does it actually matter? If I could tell you definitively that a certain platform performs better at recommending music based on a suggested song, will you switch to that platform? And I think the answer for most people is probably no. You see, I've known about the Music Genome project for years, and I was an avid Pandora user for a long time. But today, my primary platform for music is Spotify. And I have legitimate reasons for that. For me, I like that Spotify has a larger library of music, so anything I could want will probably exist on that platform. I also like all the curated playlists that it makes, specifically the Discover Weekly playlist, which is hit or miss, but when it hits, it really hits. Maybe you're in the Apple ecosystem, and that connectivity is more important to you, so you just use Apple Music. Maybe you like the user-focused culture behind SoundCloud, and so you choose that platform. Or maybe you already have YouTube Premium, which comes with YouTube Music, so that is just good enough. There are many different reasons why you might select a specific platform, so it doesn't come down to just the recommendation system. However, I do think as a result of this experiment, I'm probably going to be using Pandora more to discover more music that I love. I think it's always important every once in a while to reflect on our past decisions and make sure we're still making the right choices. In this case, we're talking about the platform we choose to listen to music on, but this advice also applies to probably other parts of our lives. That's it for now. Hope you liked this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. My name is Wisdom. Thank you for watching.